Hello everyone, and welcome to the reading of Digimon Liberator DEBUG.5-2. Similar to the previous readings, I'm not a professional voice actor, and I'm just one person doing their best. So if the voices change episode to episode, I'm honestly just doing the best that I can. I recommend heading over to the official release on DigimonCard.com if this is your primary way of consuming the Liberator web novel. Partially so Bandai still gets the site visits, but also because each chapter, like Digimon Seekers, has art. Liberator also has actual visuals of any new card that's mentioned. While the mechanics are included in the reading, if you want to see the card itself, head over to the official novel release on DigimonCard.com. And with that out of the way, let's continue on to Digimon Liberator Debug, Chapter 5, Part 2. Debug, Chapter 5, Part 2. The virtual Shinjuku quaked as the chimeric beast let out a battle cry. There was visible rattling of pylons and glass panes as the screeching sound reverberated. The city, which was lit by spotless sky just before, was now awash with the shadows of night. Countering them were swathes of glistening neon lights, illuminating Altia and the others and making the winged beast above them as visible as if the sun were shining. That's Chimeramon then. Gazing up at the colossal Digimon in the night sky, Altia inadvertently let out a small gasp of admiration. Why? He conceded that the mesh of monsters merged into a single form made a fearsome sight. But it wasn't a novel one. Chimeramon was far from a new type of Digimon, and Altia was an experienced battler who'd seen comparably intimidating Digimon in Lacuna, like Yuki's Heavy Metal Dramon and Rutaro's Dynamon. Perhaps it was the surroundings that made him feel so unexpectedly overwhelmed. Although just another kaiju, this one was right in the middle of a metropolis. It was still a fair distance away in the breeding area. If Altia had been a normal human being, fear might have broken his concentration when it later emerged into the battle area. This aura, I suppose it's heightened by us being in the city, and it being night. Exactly! Atmospheric, isn't it? Altia had only murmured, but Horaiji responded and gave him a beaming look, mostly obstructed by his mop-like hair. It's impressive that you understand the atmosphere. Although given all the effort Yao put into you, I shouldn't be surprised. I see now. You went out of your way to adjust the time settings to enhance this battle's cinematic flair. Yep, not a bad call, right? Cool Boy also said it would be fascinating. Apparently, Horaiji had not caught on to Cool Boy's habit of claiming to be fascinated when actually at a loss. The truth might be a little painful to him, so Altia held his tongue. Such emotional sensitivity was proof of him being a truly cutting-edge AI. We're getting a little overshadowed here, Master. Addressed by the level 4 form of his partner in his breeding area, Altia nodded. That we are, Espimon. We'll need to bring out a gigantic Digimon of our own. And in the meantime, let's head into a nearby tower. What for? Well, what better place for having a scrape than with someone in the sky? Nice, Master! You're in top form today! This is seriously throwing me off. Seeing Hover Espimon bob delightedly around the breeding area while Altia phlegmatically proceeded with play, Horaiji couldn't help but agitatedly ruffle his hair. Digimon Liberator Side Story, Debug, Chapter 5, Part 2, Shinjuku Giant. Chimeramon is arguably among the pinnacle of composite Digimon. Having strayed from his role of a lecturer, Horaiji got back on track, smoothing his annoyed expression into one more serious. Deltamon just earlier wasn't exactly the best example of a composite type, since it came into existence through a bug and has a split personality. Chimeramon, on the other hand, has a single mind, totally focused on combat, so it's perfect in that sense. Anyhow, keep indulging in punnery if you like, but you'll need more than words if you want to avoid Shinjuku getting leveled. Mr. Horaiji, I'm slightly concerned by how well you're playing the villain. Sorry, it's kind of fun. Seeming a little embarrassed, he confessed that he would always side with the kaiju when watching horror movies. Altia turned to reevaluate the field of battle. The situation. Altia has Hover Espimon in his breeding area and 2 security cards, while his opponent has Chimeramon and 4. Only Altia has a card in the battle area, namely his Tamer card, although both of them will be watching carefully to see what the other does. Horaiji has been notably aggressive, and Altia can't afford to make a mistake due to his reduced security. I never have guessed you had been this type of player from what I've heard of you from the other debuggers. Your moves have been optimal in light of our respective decks, with no shortage of accompanying taunts. Evidently, my memory requires updating. Declaring the start of his turn, Altia faintly muttered to himself, I'd better focus less on compliments and more on strategy. Horaiji is right, Hover Espimon. We are in for a beating unless we go on the offensive ourselves. Understood. Buoyant, Hover Espimon made for the battle area, and in tandem, Altia's Tamer card effect activated. Blipmon goes underneath Hover Espimon, thus activating my special effect. Befitting an AI, it's an artful, intelligent maneuver that reveals your top security card. Spy, scan, execute! Just then, Altia's built-in head cam flashed brightly, and the security card in his sights was flipped up. Its name. Chimeramon. I'll have to plan accordingly. That's one nasty effect. Can it be that my spy can was too spicy for your taste buds, bud? I'd appreciate it if you'd keep that shuttered. Apologies, I might not be able to oblige you there. Now, given my new intel, I'll be digivolving further. Come, Oblivimon. Heeding the order, Hover Espimon smoothly took off. Although the Digimon sign frame could withstand altitudes of up to 20,000 meters, it needed optimization to attain further aerial capabilities. The result of its transformation was a radiantly blue disc, an archetypal UFO. Its engine noise impersonable and its flight path unpredictable. I'm going in! With its when digivolving effect, Oblivimon reveals one of the opponent's security cards, and then immediately attacks it. The card housed a formidable security Digimon, and Oblivimon was in its sights, but then, before that, I'll be applying jamming with the inherent effect from Kapurimon, which comes into play when a face-up security card is checked. We lined this up in advance! Further, there's Oblivimon's own effect that activates when a face-up security card is checked. I'll take one of Oblivimon's top cards, Oblivimon itself this time, and place it face-up under my security. I'm back as Hover Espimon, however, immediately after its Digivolution had downed a security card, Hover Espimon re-emerged in the wake of beams of scattered light. Then, even more light, vast and weighty, descended upon the android Digimon. It dispersed, and left standing was an imperious, building-sized machine Digimon, which Hover Espimon swiftly docked with. Digivolving into Bulbmon is the last move of my turn. A risk-free security check, then straight into a blocker to end your turn on. Not bad, I'm impressed. Horaiji scratched his head, unnerved by Altia's stoic tone. But let's not forget, I'm the one doing the teaching today. Chimeramon, let's digivolve. Breaking off its unhurried orbit above them, the colossal composite Digimon touched down in the battle area before being unwreathed in the light of Digivolution. The result was a steel figure, all the more dazzling from the glaring neon light's reflections. A true elite among machine types, made up of components from numerous cyborg Digimon. Machinedramon. I get to inflect D-Digivolve 1, reverting Bulbmon to Hover Espimon, and leaving your security wide open for my attack. The inherent effect from Chimeramon means you'll check 2 cards, and my security failed, so I'm left with only my face-up Oblivimon for defense. You're acting awfully composed. I wonder if that'll change after this. Digicross with the 3 cards in hand. Horaiji played a new card, placing 3 different Deltamon from his hand underneath it. With this, yet another composite beast arrived in Shinjuku. You had a different Chimeramon up your sleeve, I see. Digimon can be combined in lots of ways. Anyhow, I'm not done. I'll use Chimeramon's effects to delete my Machinedramon and your Hover Espimon. Machinedramon showed no discomfort as it was deleted by Chimeramon. Both born through the amalgamation of many other Digimon components, these two are at peace with the notion of becoming components themselves. Now for Machinedramon's on-deletion effect. I can use the Machinedramon in my trash and Chimeramon to DNA Digivolve. Millenniumon, the absolute pinnacle of composite Digimon, capable of tearing even dimensions asunder, toppled the city buildings like they were children's toy blocks. Millenniumon has a when digivolving effect. I send the Bulbmon, Hover Espimon, and Espimon in your trash to the top of your deck, and I gain 3 memory. I see. Limiting my draws as well as memory next turn. That's about the size of it. Although a researcher, I'm a debugger too. It wouldn't do for me to get my butt handed to me by our backyard administrator AI. The barb made Altea suddenly pause. How troubling. Did you have me down as a mere administrator? I'm afraid I'll have to show you just how wrong you are on this battle. Absolutely. Just before the change of turn, a strong light suddenly shone upon the battle area. Oblivionmon emerged from the security, thanks to its end of opponent's turn effect. Don't you know how much support my master gives all the debuggers? There's no one else who makes such efforts, reading countless reports and test battle records, studying every day and trying to get to know everyone as much as possible. It's not fair to go labeling him as just an AI or backyard administrator. Now hold on, Oblivionmon. It was ready for a war of words to defend its master, but Altea called out calmly, "But master!" In battle, one must let their actions speak for themselves. I ask you to lend me your help. Just know what to do. Judging from Oblivionmon's change in expression and defiant glare at Millenniumon, it appeared that it did indeed know what to do. Right, I'll be ready whenever. Excellent. Now let's commence our offensive operation. Altea's turn began. His tamer card set him to 3 memory, and he hatched Kapurimon in his breeding area. I'll be putting Hover Espimon under Oblivionmon via the effect of my tamer card, and then revealing a security card. Next, Kapurimon in the breeding area digivolves into Espimon, and to top it off, Oblivionmon? Yes, the digivolution you're about to witness is as rad as it gets. Behold! Syncing with Oblivionmon's declaration of digivolution, a cocoon of intense light encased it. It expanded until even the city lights looked dim by comparison. The resulting Digimon was blue, steely, and as tall as a skyscraper. Invisimon, an unbeatable Goliath, the spitting image of the beloved, heroic defender of humanity from a film that Altea had once studied. Let's go! My when digivolving effect will de-digivolve 2 of your Millenniumon. With the activation of its when digivolving effect, Invisimon disappeared. The next moment, it had closed the distance with a Millenniumon and readied its fists. When the lightning-fast flurry subsided, its mega adversary was no more, having de-digivolved into the champion Deltamon. Horaiji was dumbfounded. You're telling me that it has that kind of speed with that gigantic steel body? And even stealth? Correct. And the most surprising part is to come. Sounding self-assured, Altea commanded his partner with a gesture. I'm attacking with Invisimon. Accordingly, its effect activates when checking security. Horaiji was the target of Invisimon's next barrage, after which it immediately vanished. I'll be placing Invisimon among my security cards. Oblivionmon remains, and I'll digivolve it into Raidenmon. The imposing machine-type substitute arrived, in place of optical camouflage. It had a coat of classic camo colours. Its pattern was not suited to the brightly lit city, but the Digimon's raw mass alone was enough to impact a sense of threat. That makes our security stacks even. Now to see if I'll be able to close this out, or if you can snatch victory. You would need a Digimon though, which you currently lack. Provoked, Horaiji gave a little glance down at his hand. Actually, I think I've got this. I have Chimeramon, Machinedramon, and Millenniumon in my hand, so I can get out the latter with Digicross, and with its on-play effect, I can get rid of Raidenmon, and then... Altea calmly shook his head. I'm afraid you haven't considered Raidenmon's effect, which lets me keep Oblivionmon in play, and at the end of your turn, Invisimon shifts from its defensive role back into offense. Your last security card will also be revealed. It's game, set, and match, I believe. Fortified, yet fluid. Invisible, yet invincible. Our strategy has been successful in its aim. Only after an ample pause did he empathetically finish. "I'd say the towering titan toppled like a toy tower." I'm sorry. Victorious. Altia and Espimon had brought peace back to Shinjuku, and also earned an unexpectedly apology from Horaiji. It is fine. I don't need an apology. No, it was disgraceful to belittle you at the basis of you being an AI and the garden's caretaker. Forgive me. For a researcher who studied digital life forms, and not only that, but also a fellow debugger, those words were not acceptable. Horaiji perfectly straightened out his hunched back, then bent his body down, making a full right angle at the waist, in a deeply apologetic bow. Altia looked at Espimon in bewilderment. Altia had considered the matter settled, since he had already raised his objection to the insult and shown his superior strength in battle. Still, it was a good thing that Horaiji had seriously reflected on his words and offered an apology. "No worries, Mr. Horaiji. Please stand up straight. I take no pleasure in seeing a colleague racked with guilt, so let's put it behind us. I've cooled down as well." All right, thanks." It was a magical phrase, no worries. Having picked it up from Yao, Altia was starting to grasp the value of its vagueness. "More importantly, would you care to hear an observation from our battle?" "Oh, of course. After all, the whole point of this was to help deepen your understanding of composite types." Horaiji scratched his head, still feeling a bit awkward. "Your Millenniumon is a being formed through the combination of two composite Digimon, Chimeramon and Machinedramon, which in turn are formed from the synthesis of many different Digimon, biological and cyborg respectively. Millenniumon represents the coexistence of the technological and the natural within one entity. And that makes it remarkably similar to the Macquanmon that we've been dealing with." "Right. Mr. Coolboy probably made us battle in order to help you gain that sort of insight. Did you unravel anything else?" Altia held his hand to his chin a little hesitantly before muttering, as if to himself, "I believe Macquanmon may not be a composite Digimon after all." "Why? Based on intuition?" "I can explain my reasoning. If you look at, say, Chimeramon or Millenniumon, they're able to exist as composite Digimon, with all of their components integrated because they've reached an appropriate level of maturity. Deltamon, on the other hand, which doesn't have unified control of its parts, is still a champion." "Right. Then you have Macquanmon, only a rookie, and to start with, it's not even clear from where its components originated." Althea nodded in agreement with Espimon, then looked straight at Horaiji. "That said, my main reason is indeed intuition. Macquanmon seems to me like a Digimon who intrinsically embodies the opposing notions of nature and civilization. If that's true, could they be the result of a mutation?" Altia shook his head at Horaiji's suggestion. "There are too many of them for that to be the case. If anything, my feeling is that their contrast is, at the very core of its being, its defining characteristic." That was the conclusion Altia had ultimately reached about Macquanmon. That was the kind of creature it was, despite its defective cybernetics and its cobbled-together appearance. "It's as if you say then its very existence is quite pitiful." "This is coming from a composite player?" "Actually, Gazimon digivolves for me of its own volition, and when in Lacuna, there's no pain at all." As Horaiji said this, the greyish-purple mammal type popped up on the shoulder of his white lab coat. Seeing that there was indeed no sadness in his eyes of the grinning Digimon, Altia felt a little relief. "In any case, if we were to continue protecting the Macquanmon, it will be a heavy responsibility. It would be wise to do more in-depth research." "Absolutely. I trust I can count on your collaboration?" "Yes, of course. You betcha." Altia exchanged a glance with his enthused partner and gave a little nod. Of course, the research would continue. An AI never ceases to compute, after all. Perhaps the research would find a way to reconcile or integrate the natural and artificial sides of Macquanmon. If so, the data yielded might also help Altia in his endeavour to build a closer relationships with the colleagues he was coming to like so much. To be continued. And that was it for Debug Chapter 5 Part 2. Linked in the description. Contact me and stay updated. You can leave us a comment on this episode or on YouTube to join in the conversation. For a full list of ways to find the podcast across the internet, such as YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Twitter, head over to my link tree, which is linktr.ee/LostinTranslationmon. If you enjoy the podcast or videos or even my silly little posts online, you can show your support by signing up on Patreon and get some cool rewards and help me hit some milestones. And thank you to my current supporters on Patreon, Stephen Weaves, who is 164 on Archive Our Own, Kadawashi, Chisai, who you can follow on Twitter at Chisai236, Neobu, who says you should follow Chisai on Twitter at Chisai236, Lismet, who is Lekmon on Tumblr, Nicholas, Magnus, Lucas, Jason105, Patrick, Jason, Shelby, Digital Hazard, who's on Twitch at TheDigitalHazard, Tropimon, Vmon Tamer, Kasai, Big Bad Beetleborg, Bent Archer, and Cappy. You can also make an donation on PayPal, which you found linked in the description. It's paypal.me/Airdramon. You can also donate to me on my Ko-fi account, which is ko-fi.com/Airdra. And of course, if you are listening/watching this on YouTube, please do the like, comment, subscribe, etc., etc. And of course, I'll see you next one. Bye!